all hear me out there? Can you hear me? You're listening to Jay's Analysis. We got 60 nerds in the middle of the day. Oh, we can do better than that. I still haven't had my coffee yet. It's brewing, so we're going to hear one more song. I'm going to let more nerds roll in. Click in. Click in, nerds. Click in. And you guys can hear me good. Is the sound good? All right, excellent. So one more song. I'm going to pour my coffee and we'll roll. Let's see. We got to do one of the theme songs from these 80s buddy cop movies. Here's a good one. I bet you forgot this one. It's a weird one. And of course I have to play it in slow motion because of copyrights. Don't you know? What's up, nerds? Does anybody know that song? Oh, we done got one. Terry Hatcher and Tango Cat. Pepe sells Who's Buying already. Damn. He had his Shazam out. He had his mental Shazam out. That's some obscure shit right there, dude. Old Jack Burton saw it in a theater. Yeah, you're going to hear some Jack Burton today. Whose lion's mane is better in the 80s? Mel Gibson's or Jack Burton's? They both have the exact same lion's mane. They're wearing the same haircut. In fact, we could even call it a mellet, right? A Mel Gibson mullet is a mellet. You wanker. You wanker. Yeah, that guy's the replicant in Blade Runner. And he's in 48 Hours too. So 48 Hours makes the list. Yeah, oh yeah, I forgot MacGyver has the same mullet, Richard Anderson. Bono? Did Bono have that? Yeah, Bono had that shitty hairdo too. Bono's was all grease though. Bono's was grease from the child's fat of the babies that they had skinned that he ate to become a billionaire in the Illuminati death cult. I gotta be careful. Last time YouTube caught me when I slowed some dumb song down. Oh, it was Aretha Franklin's Freeway in the Mac and Me video. That ruined that whole video because I'm starting to think when you get a copyright that YouTube's algorithms bury the video, because after that strike, it's not a copyright strike, but it dings it to where you can't advertise. So I think that kills the video showing up in the mysteries of YouTube here, all the deep esoteric mysteries of the patterns of how YouTube works. And then I also realized this week that YouTube now favors live streaming, and which I already knew that, but they favor long form, which is what I've been doing the whole time anyway. So I guess there's not really much point in making 10, 15 minute videos anymore, because it's not 5 years ago. 5 years ago, that was what would get you a lot of promotion in the YouTube algorithms, but not anymore. So anyway, let's see. Little reminder here. Housekeeping. Let's do a little housekeeping. Hester always calls it housekeeping. I call it housekeeping. I'm really tired too, by the way. So this is going to be some goofy ass stuff today. I can't even think what I'm supposed to Google here. I'm Googling housekeeping. Mercado Sagrado. So I will be speaking at this fair. And here's the cool thing. The girl who got me speaking here has a discount code for Jay's Analysis people. So if you are in the Malibu area and you want to go see me speak on Tavistock, propaganda, Edward Bernays, social engineering, and Dave McGowan's work on Laurel Canyon, the Malibu Canyon at the Mercado Sagrado Fair, it will be October 13th and 14th. I'm speaking Saturday, what day is Saturday? Whatever day Saturday is. I'll be speaking at noon on that topic. I have no idea. I think there's a few thousand people that go to this, maybe 3 or 4, maybe. I don't know. But so I will be at this. I think Sam Tripoli ended up on tour, so I don't think I'm going to be able to be in his studio thing. But I will be at this, and I'll be signing books after my talk. So I want to remind you guys that you can do that. And there's a code. Since it is a ticketed event, there's a discount code, which I think is like $9 off or something. And the code is 007. So you put in the 007 code if you want to go see me. All right, we got to have some other music. That's awful. The Cobra soundtrack. I should have included Cobra. Maybe that'll be in future ones. But put the code in 007 and you get like $9 off if you want to go see this. And chill, hang out with me and a bunch of hippies at this event. I'm just kidding. People at this event, don't get your feelings hurt. But it looks like it's the old Paramount Ranch, which is neat. So it's like, I've never been here, so I don't really know what to expect. But I think they have maybe old movie sets there. Let's see what this looks like here. This is where they filmed the fart scene in Blazing Saddles. No, I don't know. I'm just joking. I'll be recreating the fart scene from Blazing Saddles in a special one-time bean eating event here at the Paramount Ranch. This will be live with this guy here. He's going to be at the event. Jerry Garcia and Yoko Ono here will be at the event. And I'm going to be sitting right here recreating the bean farting scene from Blazing Saddles with Jerry Garcia. So come check that out. That'll be a lot of fun. And looks like there's teepees and all kinds of activities for you. So we'll be dropping acid and losing our minds and invoking deities. I'm joking. We're not going to be doing any of that. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm making my hippie jokes. These are pictures from the festival. And so I think it'll be fun. Enter the 007 code. Oh yeah, here's another picture. Looks like quite a few people there at this picture. So it's not a 5 people event. It's a large event. There's a bunch of different areas and speakers, and I don't really know who the other speakers are, but you can find all this out if you want to look on their site, their stuff. But looks like there'll be fart tents where you can go inside the tent with me. I'll toot directly at you. Okay, not really. I told you. I warned you it was going to be ridiculous today. All right, this vaporwave song sucks. Oh, that's a good one. All right, so yeah, come to that event. It'll be fun. If you're in that area, Malibu, Topanga Canyon. Come, are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and Dyer. All right. I'm having to down my coffee to wake up here. YouTube keeps unsubbing you. Yeah, I think the algorithms are screwing me over. I don't think they're helping me. So it looks like the last few times that I did videos that did well, it was the longer live streams. So I guess that's what YouTube favors here. So there's no point in because I put like a whole damn day into that Mandy video. I put a whole day into the Mac and Me video. Takes forever, and you think, all right, this is gold, and then it just gets buried in some dumb algorithm for who knows what. So what's the point? Might as well just do live streams and put the pictures up rather than spending all freaking day making it all nice and neat and sticking it in there perfectly and getting the music and the editing right. Not that I'm that good at that. I don't really know what I'm doing, but figuring out as I go. All right, what's our first movie here? 48 Hours. You know, I never saw 48 Hours, and I always get Nick Nolte mixed up with, I mean, not now as an adult, but when I was a kid, I thought Nick Nolte was Gary Busey, and Gary Busey was Nick Nolte. Nick Busey, Gary Nolte. Because they have very similar weird faces, you know? Like, let's see if we can. Gary Busey, man, that dude is fucking crazy looking, isn't he? He's like from another planet, dude. And then let's find the old Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte, if you look at the younger Nick Nolte, like the Nick Nolte now looks like Jerry Garcia. He looks like an old gorilla. But the younger Nick Nolte, maybe his arrest picture, his famous arrest picture. That one's a good one. Yeah, he's Jerry Garcia Santa Claus. Maybe he'll be at Mercado Sagrado. Maybe that was him sitting there with the banjo, tooting to the beans. Yeah, he looks like an old lion. This guy has it. Lion looks like. I'm gonna put the picture. I wanted to show an younger picture of him, but I can't find one. But these Hollywood stars, the stars go wild, don't they? So there's Gary Nolte, Nick Busey, and he's gonna eat the slime off of him. He's gonna eat him. Anyway, so I never liked either of their faces. You know, if you look at their faces too long, I think, you know, it becomes like a magic 90s 3D puzzle, hidden image puzzle, and you will see your doom if you stare into their faces too long. Because they're just weird faces, man. I don't know. I don't like their faces. I think Eddie Murphy has a better face than these guys. No homo, bro, by the way. Where's my vaporwave? Where'd it go? I gotta have some music in the background. Come on. So, 48 hours is, as far as I could tell, I mean, there might be a buddy cop drama prior to that that's a hit, but where's the freaking music at, dude? But, all right, that ain't no good. Can't hear nothing. These damn commercials. So, 48 hours is, I guess, the beginning of this. Is this the beginning of the buddy cop drama? I couldn't find... Why is there no sound? Can you guys hear me? Am I getting cut off midstream? Can you guys hear me? No. Neither Nick Nolte or Gary Busey or Gary Nolte or Nick Busey ever have done any drugs. They are teetotalers. Oh, Gary Busey there. He's a teeth totaler. What the heck, man? Why is there no music? Oh, well. No music, I guess. But, it was a 1982, and I didn't even realize it was that old when I watched it. I was thinking this was, you know, mid 80s. This was Beverly Hills Cop type stuff. This was the prototype for Beverly Hills Cop. This makes Beverly Hills Cop. And it's not exactly, it's the formula, but it's not exactly, you know, Eddie with his loose, goofy character versus the straight guy character. I mean, Eddie Murphy is the loose, goofy character, but he's the con man. And so he's, you know, he's in jail. And then Nick Nolte has to, you know, rely on Eddie to help solve this standard, fair, typical drug tale. And no, it's not drugs. I forgot. It's the, or is it drugs? It's the typical seedy underbelly, you know, maniac. And the maniac, really, there really isn't any rhyme or reason to this guy. It's the serial killer thing, right? He's just kind of going around killing. And I forget, maybe it was over something, drugs, but when he gets out of jail, they do a jailbreak through an Indian helping him. And when he gets out, he orders up some hoes. He's very specific in his order too. He's like, let me have, I would like her not to wear blue jeans. I would like a specific kind of, it's like he's an aside of tater thoughts. He's like, and then, and he says, and one for my friend. And then, so when they get their hose, they get caught by the cops, and there's a shootout, and they sprint with one of the hoes. One of the hoes gets shot. The other thought sprints with them at gunpoint. And what was odd about this is that for the whole duration of the movie, the bad guys are basically running. And we get the impression that it's like 3 days later when they finally catch up to the bad guys. And they're still sprinting with the hoe. It's like they just sprinted for 3 days straight. It's like Liam, more running than Liam Neeson movies, because all Liam Neeson does is sprint. Right? I'm gonna write a movie called Sprint, and it's just Liam Neeson basically running. Maybe he's a track star, and his daughter gets kidnapped. So the whole movie is one sprint of him killing people while he's sprinting. They'll probably make that now, by the way. But we'll call it Sprint. Liam Neeson stars in Sprint. Liam Neeson jogging like you've never seen before. But not a lot to this movie other than the straight up buddy cop. I mean, this is kind of the archetype. This is the prototype. There were certainly cop movies, in the 70s. It's like the cop thing and the SWAT thing, that dominated the 70s. And Dave McGowan talks about that. And actually, I came across other books too. It was mentioned in Pentagon's Brain that the TV shows of the 70s helped prepare, and late and early 80s, helped prepare the way for the rise of the warrior cop, right? The SWAT and all that stuff. And where is that book? Warrior Cop. So it wasn't just a money-making thing. There was actually a Rodney Balco. That's him. Rise of the Warrior Cop. There was actually probably funding put into this kind of stuff. I know that for certain shows in the 70s there was funding, like the SWAT show and all that stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised, given what I know all these years later, that there wasn't various departments and so forth, funding these kinds of things, FBI, any of that kind of stuff. And I'll have a little more on that in my new book, Esoteric Hollywood 2. We'll be discussing some of that as well. Not just the CIA and Hollywood, but the FBI in Hollywood and TV shows. So, I didn't really cover that in the first book. The FBI element, cop element, that kind of stuff. And then came across a lot more information where you see that that's obviously the case. It's like, oh, okay, so yeah, it's not just the CIA that has this close connection to Hollywood. It's all the other agencies, and they dump money into having promotional type stuff in these shows, right? I mean, and I was just seeing some ad for I don't watch any of these like present running TV shows at all, but I saw some ad for something like the autistic doctor who's like 15 or something. I'm thinking, this is Doogie Howser. They already made this. So they recycle these things, right? But the 70s and 80s, Rockford Files and all that stuff, that got recycled into Magnum PI. It got recycled into Buddy Cop in the mid to late 80s. And that continued into the 90s, right? And there's some crossover with Buddy Cop and action movies. Obviously, Tango and Cash is a Buddy Cop and big name action movie. And I had never seen Tango and Cash for whatever reason. So that, which does make the list. We'll be discussing that here in a moment. But a reminder that you can get signed copies of Esoteric Hollywood at my website in the shop, Jay's Analysis. You can, if you don't want to come to the event, if you can't come to the Malibu event, meet me in person, sign books, get your books signed. You can order them from the shop at jaysanalysis.com. So there is one funny aspect to 48 Hours, which we should mention, which shows such a divergence between the norms of Hollywood, even in the 80s and today. This movie would literally make the social justice warriors melt. I mean, they would lose their mind. They would explode into a skittle confetti vomit explosion if they watch this movie, because the movie is full of race jokes. I mean, back and forth. And that part of it was kind of actually entertaining. I thought it was funny because Nick Nolte is making black jokes and Eddie Murphy is making honky jokes, and it's hilarious. I mean, that part of it was actually kind of funny. And they keep at it the whole movie, and then they end up friends, which is ironic because that's kind of how it should be. I mean, shouldn't we just joke about these things, right? Shouldn't we laugh and it not be weaponized into this total social justice warrior triggered nonsense, which is all mind control? Yeah, of course, we should be able to laugh about it, and then people wouldn't hate each other. It's really a no-brainer. But it's done this way on purpose. But in the film, it's just amazing how acceptable it was. And at one point, there's this is another aspect of this movie which makes absolutely no sense, is they go to a bar in San Francisco towards the beginning that is a redneck bar with rebel flags packed to the brim with cowboy hat wearing, roper wearing, Wrangler wearing, pure untainted rednecks packed to the brim. Where in San Francisco is this? This is utterly unbelievable. But you can tell they stuck that in there on purpose because, you know, it makes sense that they would, because of all the race jokes, I guess they threw this in there. And then later they go to the black club, right? So Eddie Murphy is in the redneck club and he makes a scene, and then Nick Nolte ends up in the black club, and it's kind of funny, the contrast there. But we just noticed how different it was. You could make race jokes in the 80s and nobody cared. It wasn't a big deal. People weren't trying to destroy careers over something so preposterous as a word. But yeah, so the irony is also that if such a gigantic, I mean, this is more redneck than Roadhouse, this club in 48 Hours. If this actually did exist, which there's no way that it did, it's like there's still segregation in San Francisco in the 80s because there's like no black people at the redneck club and no rednecks at the black people club. So I thought that was ironic. I mean, if you haven't watched the movie, you won't get this, but let's see if I can find a picture. It was really over the top. It was like, yeah, there's not really a good picture of it. There's just a picture of Eddie Murphy punching somebody. But yeah, I mean, it was like, what? This doesn't exist I've been to San Francisco, dude. There's no giant redneck underground army in San Francisco. And I can use the term redneck, by the way, and I can put out redneck memes because I'm from the South. So I have a free license. I grew up, born and raised in Tennessee and California. Weird mix, by the way. So I can make those jokes. Because I tweeted out a redneck meme, which I thought was funny, and people were bitching at me saying, how dare you tweet memes that make fun of white people? I was like, dude, I'm a white person from the South. What are you talking about? Kojak. I haven't seen Kojak. Yes, Mercado Sagrado has a very hippie tinge to it, and that's because I get invited to speak at all kinds of different places. Did you know that the secret space program that I went and spoke at had a very UFO tinge to it? Did I speak on UFOs? No, I did not, which is why they didn't really like me there. So I got about half, 50% liked, 50% didn't like. So so this is going to be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to, I'll film this. I'll record it. So it's going to be the typical stuff that you always hear me say. If the Mercado Sagrado audience doesn't like me, well, I guess they won't invite me back. Or they will walk away to some other event. So, this is kind of how this stuff goes. It's like When I was invited to speak at Alternative View in the UK, that there was a lot of people there who I'd never heard of, and I didn't really know anything about their material. Most of the material was pretty much in line with Jay's analysis, but there was some kind of out there stuff too. So, you don't really, I'm not like a superstar. I can't pick what kind of jobs I mean, I can, but it's part of going out and speaking and selling your book. So the alternative media, it's a mixed crowd. You get the hippie types, and you get the what other types? You get the UFO alien liking people, the coast to coast crowd. You get the geopolitics crowd, 21st Century Wire type crowd. You get the MAGA crowd. You get all these different cliques and crowds. So it is what it is. And if the hippies invite me to speak, I'll come speak. Now, I can't think of anything else. Looking at my notes on 48 Hours. Nick Nolte cusses a lot and yells at his girlfriend for no explainable reason. Basically, every time she calls it, he's got good game here. We'll give him some game points, even though he's a pretty rough looking dude. I mean, he's got good game for looking like the gorilla that he does. But he basically just cusses at her anytime she calls. And this is hearkening to the ever-present theme in buddy cop shows, which is nobody gets along with their loved ones, right? The relationships are always mangled and stressed due to the intense stress of the cops, the hero cops, the warrior cops, saving us from all of the drug dealers and the terrorists and the traffickers and the serial killers, right? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, basically the guy in this is Hans, or Gons, that's his name. Gons is basically a serial killer. And I got to thinking, yet again, here we are with the narrative, the FBI, the cops. They're saving us from millions and millions of serial killers because they're everywhere. It's like in Point Break. They have that hilarious scene where they talk about the amount of bank robberies in LA that year when Keanu goes to the FBI and he's got his surfboard there and they're looking over the bank robberies, and it's like, we've had like 11,000 bank robberies this year. 11,000 bank robberies this year? It's some crazy number like that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's like, what? That would be like 5 bank robberies every single day at every bank in Los Angeles. I mean, it's just utterly preposterous. But these kinds of things, they seem innocuous, but a lot of times, I don't know specifically if that event was, but a lot of times that stuff is inserted, right? There's the appearance is given of, there's constant mass shootings, and there's just drugs everywhere. There's just nonstop trafficking and the war on drugs, which is a big scam fostered by the CIA itself, and the serial killers that are lurking in every middle-class neighborhood because it's all the wire-rimmed white guys with mustaches that are high IQ. They're all serial killers. They're just everywhere. But don't worry, because the heroic police who are willing to sacrifice even their personal lives and their relationships with their girlfriends, for the safety of us all. And we can thank Nick Nolte because he's even willing to sacrifice his relationship with his girlfriend, yell and cuss for absolutely no reason, because he's saving us from the bad guys. So the projection of the hero. Which, of course, is just like basic propaganda 101. Where was my funny picture here? I was going to find a funny picture. "48 Hours. Yeah. So here's old Eddie there telling you what's up. Look at that artwork. Doesn't look like Nick Nolte at all. Who does that look like? Eddie's like, fuck you, man. I don't know who that looks like, but it doesn't look like Nicholas Nolte. I do like that 48 hours in the 80s clock script there. That's pretty cool. And what do we give this movie? I'll give it 3 Viceroy cigarettes and 2 cups of coffee. That's about what this gets. So, yeah, somebody in the chat mentioned Turner and Hooch. By the way, you guys can send super chats. I'm not rejecting any super chats today. Those are all welcomed as well. We're trying out different styles and formats here to see which YouTube allows and doesn't attack us with invisible algorithms. So maybe this longer form here will be better than the briefer video style. We'll just have to wait and see. But Turner and Hooch, there's 2 things I can't stand in this world. One of them is the face of Tom Hanks, which I've just never found. His face just annoys me as much as Nick Nolte and Gary Busey's faces annoy me. And dog movies. Those are the 2 worst things in the world. And so to combine those 2 things, Turner and Hooch, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, that would be like kryptonite to me. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine anything more torturous than a buddy cop movie with Tom Hanks and a dog. And I have seen it, by the way. In fact, I think as a kid, I even went to the theater and saw that wretched piece of dog crap. So no, there's not going to be any Turner and Hooch analysis here. I mean, if we get to the point of analyzing Beethoven and Turner and Hooch and that kind of crap, you might as well just give up. Like, give up on me. Flee from my presence. Delete my channel. Don't ever follow me again. You'll know that I have sold out. That's not the real Jay. That's how you'll know. I've been replaced with a synthoid. That's how you'll know. So let those super chats roll in. Rolling. Keep them super chats rolling. Throw away all your Turner and Hooch's rawhide. Where were we? All right, I think I'm done with 48 hours. It was a hit, though, and I guess this is what spurned buddy cop dramas, because it cost $12 million and it made $80 in 1982 money. That's a damn hit. And no wonder. And yeah, I see here in the notes, even at Wikipedia, they say it is often credited as the first buddy cop genre. Okay, my instincts were right. Wikipedia proves it. Now, we're only doing 80s here, so a couple obvious ones didn't make the cut, right? So there's not going to be Last Action Hero, which is an interesting movie, by the way. It does deserve an analysis. It even deserves perhaps an esoteric analysis. And then, a bunch of the 90s ones, the ones with like Tim Robbins and Martin, that doesn't make the cut because it's not 80s. And Running Scared, somebody said they weren't going to watch the stream if I didn't do Running Scared, and I did about 30 minutes of Running Scared, and it was really good on my nerves. Just wasn't funny. I don't know. I mean, I'll give Billy Crystal and the Black Dude credit. They had a little better dialogue and banter than Nick Nolte. No, Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours has better banter. It wasn't as bad as Tango and Cash, I'll put it that way. Because the one-liners in Tango and Cash, holy crap, dude. Wow. I had to write some of them down. They were so bad. Like, they were. I had to give an award for like worst one-liners. Oh, and I did want to mention too, for 48 hours, one last point before we move on. And this is the archetype throughout all the 80s. And I did find one 80s movie that defies this archetype, and now I've already forgotten what it was. And that is the great mystery of the black mustached actors of the 80s. There's only one black 80s actor that I've found ever in one movie, and I've already forgot what it was, who doesn't have the black actor mustache. 48 Hours movie. They all do. Every one of them. You will never find one. Well, now I can't even find the chief in that. But yeah, so the chief in 48 Hours, right, is the angry yelling chief, which is the staple, right, of all of these. And he's got the mustache. Now, in a couple of these, you don't have the angry black guy chief. Like, you have in Beverly Hills Cop, you've got the stuck-up white guy chief, who does yell, by the way. But the 80s black actor mustache, it was freaking universal, dude. I mean, you could just type in 80s black actors, and you will never find them lacking the mustache. I don't know who started that off, but I mean, Louis Gossett to Richard Pryor to Eddie Murphy to Carl Weathers. I mean, it's like, it was a staple. And by the way, if anybody in the chat, I will send you a free book right now. Free Esoteric Hollywood, maybe Esoteric Hollywood 2 if you already have it. If you can find or think of the 80s black actor, and I can't remember what it was, something I saw within the last year. It can't be like a 15-year-old, you know, it can't be like Webster or some shit like that, right? Like, no Emmanuel Lewis, right? It's got to be a grown-ass man. If you can think of, this is the mindless trivia section, right, as Alan Watt talks about. Mindless trivia. Oh, they give you mindless trivia. This is the mindless trivia section of today's show. OJ, yeah, by the way, that's not who I'm thinking of, but did OJ have the stash in the 80s? That was a good question. Yeah, he's got a beard in some of these. Let's see. That's 80s OJ, and he's got a beard. Let me pull that up for you here. Now, that was a close call there. You almost got me on that one. I might have to think about it, but I mean, I don't know. 80s OJ's got a beard, so I can't give you that one. I'm sorry. You came close, though. Bill Cosby, yeah, but Bill Cosby didn't do a lot of movies in the 80s. I may have to give you that one, though, because I don't think Bill Cosby ever had a mustache in the 80s either. But he's not the one that I was thinking of. Let's see. Yeah, he pretty consistently does not have a mustache. So I will grant you that one, but that's not the one that I'm thinking of. So who came up with Bill Cosby? Lawrence Fishburne? He wasn't big yet. He had a few. Fred Williamson. It might have been Fred Williamson. That's probably what I was watching. So I'm going to have to give, let's see. No, dude. Fred Williamson had mustache in the 80s. Hardcore. Pfft. Way off, dude. Way off. Yeah. No. I already said you can't do Gary Coleman or I said no Webster, no Emmanuel Lewis. Gary Coleman counts. Bill Duke from Predator, isn't that Carl Weathers? No. Okay, that's it. That was it. It was Predator, Bill Duke. That's it. Who got Bill Duke? Matt Jones. You got it. Okay, I see William Kane said it too. So who? That was it. It's Bill Duke. Who got it first? Matt Jones? Who? Matt Jones. Who? Lando. Pfft, give me a break, dude. Lando had all of these dudes' mustaches shaved off and glued on combined on top of his own mustache. Matt Jones. Okay, so Matt Jones gets a book, and who said Bill Cosby? You'll get a book too. Matt Jones. If you don't want a book, you can have something else. Guy from Police Academy. Yeah, but he's kind of, what was that guy's name? The guy that makes the noises. That guy made like a whole career out of just making dumb noises. Like he would, I think it was a stand-up. What's his name? In the 80s. Oh, no, he's actually got a mustache. So now he doesn't have a mustache in every movie, but Michael Leslie Winslow, he actually does have a mustache in quite a few 80s images. So I can't give you Michael Winslow, although that does come close. But he's got a pretty heavy mustache in Police Academy 2. J. Omar Rivera. So you get another book. All right, so Matt Jones and J. Omar Rivera, if you want a free book or maybe a free Esoteric Hollywood 2, whichever one you want, send me an email and remind me that you are who you are, and I'll give that to you. So just a little bit of fun there as we move on past Black Mustache section of the show. We should do another. Who had the best 80s black mustache guy? Was it maybe Carl Weathers? I think Carl Weathers got a pretty smooth mustache there. Or would it be Billy D? Maybe Billy D. Danny Glover had it. I don't know. That's pretty smooth. I'd have to give it to maybe Billy D or Carl Weathers. They had that smooth black dude mustache down to a T, dude. All right, which brings us to the next 80s buddy cop. By the way, there was no Eddie Laugh in 48 Hours, so that had not been developed yet. And they probably told him when they were doing Beverly Hills Cop to do your trademark laugh from your stand-up. You didn't do it in 48 Hours, but 48 Hours was a big hit, and that made Eddie Murphy, so he probably had a little more leeway by the time of Beverly Hills Cop. And welcome, everybody. 123 nerds watching live. You're listening to Jay's analysis as we go through the top 5 buddy cop films of the 80s. Roughly speaking, not really much rhyme or reason to my selection process, just kind of the ones I did and didn't like. So how's that? And we gave 3 Viceroy cigarettes and 4 cups of coffee. I forget what we gave it, but funny for the race jokes, and then that's about it. But it kicked it all off. By the way, the FBI and the cops We pointed that out. Yeah, the FBI and the cops were protecting us from the zillions of serial killers everywhere. They're just under every nook and cranny. And we saw in Dave McGowan's book, if you recall, that was by design. That was set up as a FBI program that he talks about, I think, towards the end of the 70s, right? If you watched which actually isn't that bad, the pretty good Netflix series, is it Mindhunter? Yeah. Pretty crazy. If you watched Mindhunter, then you saw this theme. This Netflix show is about the setting up of the FBI serial killer unit, which, wouldn't you know, right after the serial killer unit is set up, serial killers dominate the 80s. Because they're everywhere. Just like the terrorists. Just like the terrorists and the mustard gases are everywhere. And terrorists will play into the buddy cop drama and the 80s action genre. Because if you know, we've talked about before, True Lies is, of course, not exactly a buddy. It's more of a pseudo-spy drama, but it's in the action realm. And it is the first major blockbuster to have a terrorist-themed plot. I don't really count Back to the Future, even though you could if you wanted to. Who cares? But not by accident, by the way. And we will be taking Super Chats later. Thank you, John Goras. If anybody wants to send your Super Chat questions for this fun middle-of-the-day, Tuesday chill stream on buddy cop films of the 80s. Next up in my list, like I said, I gave a little bit of a chance to Running Scared, and Billy Crystal was getting on my nerves. The black dude was getting on my nerves. Not because I'm racist. But another theme I noticed too in the cop shows, and this transcends all of them. This could be any cop FBI show, is that the local yokels are always complete idiots, and the big Cosmo City people, the big people, the city folk, they know it all. And so the local police, the local authorities are complete rubes and idiots, and the FBI and the cops, the federal authorities, are just total geniuses. That is part of the propaganda, by the way. Because, I'm sorry, but not everybody who lives in a city is a genius. And not everybody who lives in the country is a complete retard. And I think people are starting to figure that out, by the way, as we stare into the abyss of the internet and we look at the metropolitan hellholes and we start to realize that, oh, hey, maybe if there's giant mounds of human feces everywhere in San Francisco, this is not the most enlightened place on the planet. And maybe if there's beautiful beaches and giant green pastures that I could move to, then piles of human feces is not really enlightenment. So, no, Running Scared. Sorry, bro, whoever it was that told me I had to watch that one. It was putting me to sleep. Let's talk about Beverly Hills Cop. How can we forget Beverly Hills? This one has to be up there in the list. And, when I watched Beverly Hills Cop originally, I didn't really like it. I was like, it was boring. It was kind of like, I don't know. Seemed like... It just seemed like a dumb 80s movie. And then when I got older, I realized I really like this movie. And it is the only one in this list that is still funny. I mean, how rare is it, by the way, for something from the 80s to still be funny? It's very rare. I mean, 80s movies, comedies, really don't hold up very well. I mean, you could probably count on your hand how many of them still hold up as funny because, humor changes over time, which is an interesting, mysterious issue. Why does humor change over time? I'm not exactly sure. I mean, obviously trends and styles and all that, but why does humor in some senses change over time? I don't know. But here's white power Eddie giving the white power sign. That was, if you saw the news the last couple of weeks, that was really ridiculous. Anytime someone makes the AOK sign there, they're secretly engaging in white supremacy. And then there were all of these media stars like Oprah doing it. Yeah, come on. I mean, can the left be any more ridiculous than to fall for all of these trolls? I mean, they get trolled and they don't even realize they get trolled, and then they just keep cracking down even harder. It's mind-boggling. But this one is still fun because quite a few of Eddie Murphy's bits are still funny. I mean, some of them are really funny. Like when he plays the race card when he tries to get his Beverly Hills hotel. And he's probably improvising because I mean Eddie Murphy is a funny guy, and I would bet that he is probably improvising just because I don't know. I know what it's like to do improv, so it doesn't come off as scripted. It comes off as very off the cuff, and that's pretty awesome. And so every one of the little bits that he does, it's kind of like Fletch. Like every place that he goes and he tries to get in, he does a different character, and in that regard, it's the humor holds up well. And Eddie goes crazy with the laugh in this movie. Like he's doing the Eddie laugh in every scene. And I noticed as well that there's actually variations on the Eddie Murphy laugh. There's not just one. There's actually like 5 different versions of it that he does, and he goes batshit crazy with it, as well as them playing that theme song in every damn scene. I mean, they went freaking balls to the wall with that theme song. Boop, 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 boop. I mean, it's every freaking scene, dude. Every transition, they're playing that theme song. And Eddie's doing his laugh in every scene. Bonuses to this movie, you also get a funny scene with Balky from Perfect Strangers, who, as a foreigner, mispronounces things. Oh, you could still make jokes about foreigners pronouncing things in the 80s. It wasn't taboo. Even into the mid-80s, late 80s. And Damon Wayans shows up as a bit part gay guy, which is pretty funny. And again, every one of Eddie's bits cracked me up, even still. So this movie still holds up. I give it 5 afros and 6 Judge Reinholds, because Judge Reinhold is in this, by the way, and he plays the straight-laced. He plays the he plays the straight-laced lesbian aunt. The teetotaling straight-laced lesbian aunt. Beautiful character role by Judge Reinhold here. The young Judge Reinhold. Is Barbara Peel, is that the chick? She get 6 Barbara Peels. What's the chick's name? Oh, Danny Elfman. I didn't know Danny Elfman did that boop beep synthesizer. Huh. Now, what's interesting about the plot here is that an art gallery is functioning as a drug front. And by the way, that comes up. I don't think it's an art gallery. It's a museum, I think. Is it True Lies? I think there's a section of True Lies where there's a museum that's transferring art, and it's a drug front. And wouldn't you know, this goes on. I started thinking, I bet that's true. I bet that there are drug fronts that use art galleries. And what a brilliant, ingenious method for a drug front. And sure enough, it does go on. Because also it's a way to launder money. And that fits into the plot because if you recall in the plot of Beverly Hills Cop, they are buying and trading and laundering drug money through German bearer bonds. And bonds are useful because of their anonymity. And so, if you're talking about bonds, you're talking about the highest level drug, like government level, secret agent level corruption, drug dealing. Like mega bank, JP Morgan level, right? Which, hey, what do you know? That goes on. So once again, here we go. What's the theme of Esoteric Hollywood? Hollywood's telling us the truth in the midst of all this goofy fiction. So this article talks about, this is New York Times, and it says, according to the error bill slapped on the crate that arrived in the Kennedy International Airport from London, an unnamed painting worth $100 is inside. Only later did the feds discover that it was the American artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, and it was worth $8 million. And it's the painting known as Hannibal, and this was part of a gigantic drug thing. And it goes on to talk about how the painting's seizure was a victory in the economy-rattling billion-dollar fraud money laundering case of Edmar Cid Ferreira, former Brazilian banker who converted his loot into a 12,000-piece art collection because it was all drug money. Well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, this was an insight that was in the excellent book by Daniel Esselin, Shadow Masters, where he talks about the drug trade and arms trafficking and how it requires, a lot of, if you're going to transfer large amounts of money and you want it to be undetected, this is one of the challenges for underground markets. And one of the ways to do that more easily is through liquid assets or assets that are anonymous or not as easy to track. So German bearer bonds, according to the Beverly Hills Cop plot, or the anonymity of diamonds, jewels, this kind of stuff, right? These are classic means of doing this. And what do you know? It's all real. Isn't that fascinating? So, where's my notes here? Beverly Hills Cop. Paul Reiser in his bit part, by the way. Ripley, Ripley, I expected better of you, Ripley, really, I always do the same alien lines from Paul Reiser. So we get this British villain, right, and he's running this underground operation, Maitland, and yeah, all of the British villains that run Hollywood. British villains that run Hollywood. I did notice this funny scene too, which, by the way, that reminds me of Lethal Weapon 2, where it's the South African elite that run Hollywood. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Where's my Eddie Murphy picture? Oh, here it is. Yeah, so when Eddie Murphy goes to the art dealership, by the way, there's a giant vaporwave. And Axel Foley is mystified by the vaporwave art because he's a Detroit cop from the ghetto. And as you can see here, he's befuddled, bemused, mystified by the vaporwave. And then speaking of art, then he becomes mystified by the Marina Abramovich style avant-garde piece here. Damn it. Of the white people eating their heads. And I saw this, I'm like, this has to be a Marina Abramovich piece, right? She just got her head busted, by the way, by one of her own paintings. And we mourn for that. We feel sorry for Mother Abrina Abramovich and her terrible weekend where her painting was destroyed, or whatever it was, portrait, paint, I don't know which one, something. Somebody hit her on the head with her own painting. So I have a moment of silence for, no, I'm joking. I was looking at this art piece, and then Balky tells him it's $100,000. And that reminded me of the con of avant-garde art. Not only is it social engineering, not only is it ridiculous and hideous and dumb, but it's also a con. So never forget that element of avant-garde art, that you can pull off quite a bit of con artistry if you're good at playing the part of pretending to be a very, very deep avant-garde artist. And you need only sit on a park bench for an hour and let people grow up your genitals, or pee on a blank canvas, or vomit on a canvas. These are all real, by the way. These are real artworks, quote unquote, that gained people a lot of notoriety. Or a trail of garbage out to the street at MoMA, which was a Yoko Ono art piece, I believe, if I recall. We were laughing at that on one of the old streams. Are you Jay's Analysis cheapos out there? Anybody want a donut? No, but you guys not liking the Buddy Cop stream? We got 138 nerds. Nobody wants to send no super chats. Nobody wants to send no super chats. We're going to have to bring the old fart back. Literally an old fart. Like at the Paramount Ranch remaking Blazing Saddles with farting with old farts. Is that what you guys want? Is that what I'll have to bring back? Anyway. We'll have to do some more streams too where I just sing. Right? Because that's what we do. Just sing dumb songs. Be really annoying. I'm going to do a joke IRL stream. But, because people that do IRL streams and just stand around talking to skanks get like 500,000 subscribers. I don't get it. I'm mystified by Axel Foley, you paid your dues because you busted Victor Maitland. So thank you, Axel. But if I just walk around and I interview bums, I'd probably get 500,000 subscribers right away. Yeah, there was an art piece of Psy. Here's $2. Well, man, if you didn't want to do it, you didn't have to do it. I'm glad you're excited for the Esoteric Hollywood 2 book, Skid Racket. Appreciate it. This is how we make money. Super chats is how the YouTube streaming system works. Because the ad revenue is not going to be that much. It'll be a little bit, but you can do a lot better with super chats. But you are learning things. This is not just a joke stream. We try to combine. We do quality infotainment here. But let's see. We do have the angry black mustached boss screaming and yelling at Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy makes butt jokes about him, which is pretty funny. The art gallery is a cover in front for drug running. Judge Reinhold is a lesbian aunt. German Burboins, we got all that. We art dealer. Let's see. It's a cover for coke dealing. Okay, so yeah, I think that was all my notes for Beverly Hills Cop. And this was a mega success, right? I mean, this was like Eddie Murphy was skyrocketing to the moon, dude. This cost $15 million and made $316 million. So Eddie Murphy has done like 2 movies and he's made $500 million. That's crazy. Not him, but you know what I mean? Like the movies gross that. And we love the 80s around here. We're big 80s fans. So next up, you can probably guess, also held up very well. I was cracking up at both Mel and Dan Glover in Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon was good. In fact, the whole trilogy kind of held up well, except for the second one's kind of dumb. But Lethal Weapon held up. What are we going to give the Beverly Hills Cop, though? I think it stands out. We're going to give Beverly Hills Cop, I think we gave it, what? 5 afros and 3 parking tickets. I don't know. What do cops do? Generate revenue. They get parking tickets. 3 donuts. Cops and donuts. Are you familiar with that? Some people make an association between the police and donuts. Have you guys ever heard this? Let's move to Lethal Weapon. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting with CIA narratives. This actually comes up. The Phoenix program actually comes up. I was sort of blown away. And I think it was, we'll call him Nate, one of the Jay's Analysis listeners who hipped me to this. He said, hey, go back and watch Lethal Weapon, the Shane Black script. Pay attention to the plot. And I think you'll be surprised. And I was like, holy crap, dude. That is unreal. Because I don't think, when did Douglas Valentine's Phoenix program book come out? I don't think it was, like 1987, was it? Maybe it was. Maybe it's an old book. Maybe Shane Black read that back in the 80s. Let's see. Looks like it came out in 92. Unless there was an older print of it. But Phoenix program, Douglas Valentine, looks like it came out in 1992. So Shane Black was talking about the Phoenix program before Douglas Valentine's book. Is that right? Unless there's an older version that I'm not seeing of Phoenix program. Here's an old looking version. Let's see if that's it. No, not available. Nonfiction Weekly. Douglas Valentine. This does not say when it was published. Anyway, looks like it was published in 1992. So, and we'll talk about the Phoenix program a little bit here for refresher for those who don't remember. All right, super chats. Thank you. You guys aren't cheapos. I appreciate it. Please, sir, could I have some pence? Please, would you toss me some pence for my orphanage supper tonight? We have an orphanage slop tonight. If you throw me some twopenny, throw me a bit of twopenny, so that I could clean my bottom and have a bit of porridge tonight. I'm channeling Sam Hyde again. He did a funny video where he was doing a similar voice like that. I forgot what it was called, but he wasn't talking about porridge, but what is the lethal? Let's see. So Lethal Weapon is 87, 86, 87, 86. What is it? 80. Oh, no damn crap TV series. 87. That's what I thought. And can you believe they remake all these shows? They take these actually good 80s movies and they're just remaking them into TV shows that are, I'm sure, terrible. So this was obviously a big box office hit as well. Cost $15 million, made $120, but that still pales compared to Eddie and Beverly Hills Cop. But actually, the Lethal Weapon series is like $1 billion series. It's crazy how much money the whole Lethal Weapon series is like. It's unbelievable. So we saw that. Let's see. I'm going to have to pour myself another cup of coffee, and we're going to get deep into the Phoenix program and Lethal Weapon, because Mel's character is... he was in the Phoenix program. Can you believe that? That is in the plot of Lethal Weapon. And that is supposed to be why he's crazy, right? He's like a loon, and he's what they call him, Mad Dog or something. And then Danny Glover's a straight character, family man. But it makes sense why he's crazy, because he was in the Phoenix program. No, slow it down. I'm gonna. This is the theme. No, this is weak, dude. This is like weeping. We don't want to weep. Weep with Danny Glover. We're gonna do
rocket equation. It's a beautiful thing.
Just a brief break. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm out of it because I'm really tired. And maybe 2 minutes, I'll be back after I pour some more coffee. And we're going to talk about Phoenix program and its relationship to MK Ultra, and how Mel Gibson's character has apparently been through this. And this is partly why the plot revolves around Iran-Contra and the CIA drug importation narrative in the background, which is true. I'll be right back. I'm going to take a brief break while I pour some more coffee. right, welcome back. Welcome back to Jay's Analysis. Had a little more coffee. I feel recharged. I feel better. Thank you all for staying with me. We've got 116 nerds, so I take a coffee break and 30 nerds leave. And we are going to talk Lethal Weapon. And written by Shane Black. And of course, this is interesting because we know Shane Black writes these conspiracy-themed plots. And usually they're fairly revelatory. In fact, he made his directorial debut. Well, actually, he did this new Predator, which I didn't realize, by the way. But he first did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, by the way, which is a good movie. If you haven't seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, that's actually a really good movie. But he did Lethal Weapon 1 and 2. Last Boy Scout, that's a forgotten movie. Everybody's forgotten about that movie. I need to go back and revisit that one. And I mentioned earlier, Last Action Hero, that eventually needs to be analyzed. But Long Kiss Goodnight, which is not a very good movie, but actually it's preposterous. It's so preposterous in that Con Air kind of preposterous way, in a fun way, that it's almost worth watching, especially the end of Long Kiss Goodnight. But it's interesting because the Gina Davis character is mind controlled. She's a fractured multiple assassin. So he pretty consistently includes these plots in his narratives. Now, I wanted to say there was another one too. It seemed like there was another film he did. Yeah, Iron Man 3. So there you go. And of course, we've talked about Iron Man 3 before, and Iron Man 3 will have a section in my new book. And so Shane Black will come up, I guess, multiple times in Esoteric Hollywood too. And the plot of Lethal Weapon doesn't just inform us about the Phoenix program and their usage of the special forces. It also ties into the porn industry. If you recall, the beginning includes the daughter of, who is it? Riggs. Well, Riggs is the Mel Gibson character, but Robert Murtaugh is partnered with Riggs. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Hunsaker, that's it. Vietnam war buddy who has lost his daughter, and his daughter went into the porn industry and was hooked on coke and jumps off of the high-rise apartment balcony in L.A., presumably on coke as a suicide, but it turns out she may have been poisoned with drain cleaner, and then she was thrown off to make it look like it was homicide. And the daughter was involved, of course, in drugs and prostitution, porn, all this stuff. And you think, oh, okay, so it's going to be the typical buddy cop about the seedy underworld. And no, it turns out that actually what they've stumbled upon is Hunsaker, before this event, had been involved in the Shadow Company. Wonder who the Shadow Company is. Well, shadow government and the company, it's not hard to figure out who that is. And he reveals that they were trafficking in heroin. Well, of course they were. That's what happened after Afghanistan, was that the drug, opium markets exploded, like 70%. After the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, and of course the Soviets, the Mujahideen had already been the proxies of the CIA in 1978-79 against the Soviets anyway. But this heroin smuggling operation was run by special forces out of the Vietnam. Up, where's that sound? What's that sound like? Sounds like The Secret Team by Fletcher Prouty, doesn't it? Yes, it does. And the secret team here, the Shadow Company, who were all former Vietnam special forces, they were masterminded by retired General Peter McAllister. Well, I've heard of this before. This sounds familiar. Many movies, many plots. Think of Nick Cage and Lord of War. At the end of Lord of War, where do I give all my resources to? It's a general in a limousine. That's who protects Nick Cage, who, by the way, is roughly based, I believe, on Victor Bout. And Victor Bout is the central character in Shadow Masters, the Daniel Esselin book. So Lord of War, it kind of loosely has an affiliation, I believe, with Daniel Esselin's book, Shadow Masters. But the Shadow Company, and then the reason this isn't a good plot is because the Riggs character, he knows about all this because of his Vietnam Special Forces experience. And not only that, he says, I was part of the Phoenix program, right? Because the Danny Glover character says, why are you such a nutball? How are you you're a psycho and you're such a good cop because you kill everybody, maniac cop, right? And you don't really have any remorse and you get off on it and it's funny. How do you do all this? And he's like, oh, because I was in this total mind control program in Vietnam called the Phoenix program, which is real, isn't it? Yes, it was. And this was a program to basically terrorize Viet Cong, and not just Viet Cong, but also men, women, and children because, oh, wouldn't you know it, we can never delineate between the Viet Cong and the actual men, women, and children. So the CIA reasoning, oh, well, we just got to terrorize everybody, right? Because they're the good guys. And don't worry that this all has to do with drugs. Just trust us. We're the good guys. It's okay. We are the good guys. Even though we run giant global drug operations, we're the good guys. Just trust. That is what this movie is about. That is amazing. You might have had some people in the 80s, who knew about Iran-Contra, because actually Iran-Contra is mentioned, I think, in the film. I think in the screenplay, they even say that the Shadow Company, has some relationship to the Contras and, the Reagan Iran-Contra stuff and how they were funding that operation with the drug money. I think that's in there. If not, then, well, it's more or less saying that anyway. So, but who in the 80s would have put all these pieces together? Maybe some journalists, maybe a handful of people who knew about, but who knew about all that and the Phoenix program? Like hardly anybody. So I'm kind of mystified that this is in the plot. It's kind of like, wow. Somebody's mad that I put in the description, Dyer presents in it. Why not? Why not write about it in the third person? Did you just come here to bitch? Why do you give a shit? And by the way, you're late. If you're late, why do you give a shit how I described it? If you don't like my description, go listen to something else. I put it in the third person because it sounded like I had an assistant. How's that? This makes me sound more important that my personal assistant wrote that. So, well, but see, this movie doesn't make the CIA look good. So, yeah, I know that there's a lot of writers on the CIA that, I wrote a book on Hollywood and the CIA, dude. I know about that, but I'm saying this is, this doesn't make the CIA look very good. They're the bad guys in this. So, and they kind of like cover it over by calling him the Shadow Company, but that's obviously who it is. But I wanted to mention about the Phoenix program that they ran these operations of terror and seemingly, brought in people who with psychopathic tendencies already, and then turned them into even greater psychopaths. At least that's presumably what's going on here. Dave McGowan makes the argument, his thesis is that could be related to the rise of serial killers in the late 70s and 80s because of that program. Because the program was basically to create serial killers, to terrorize the Viet Cong. And then, what do you know? The same programs of terrorizing the Viet Cong appear to be domesticized in the U.S., domesticated, and used upon the population here. And if you don't think that the mainstream media does their studies in foreign operations and foreign camps and foreign theaters and then brings them back home, then you don't know anything and you're an idiot. And you should go back and listen to all of the Globalist book series books and the Pentagon's Brain, because that whole book is about how Vietnam was a test tube for running operations back home. Do you think they just care about setting up something in Vietnam and they're not going to study movements of people, mass movements, social strata, ethnography? No, we just did a book about ethnography and how they do that, right? CIA weaponizing anthropology. Of course they do. And of course they implement that stuff domestically. Well, how would they do that? They'd have to control the media. Do you not think they control the media? Look at the freaking media, dude. There was a New York Times editorial 2 weeks ago, about the deep state controlling the media and leaking all this stuff and so forth. So, yeah, come on. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of blows me away that this, and here you have one of the biggest 80s blockbusters, and it's all about this real deal stuff. Pretty crazy. And Shane Black said he wrote this in 1985. So he wrote it even earlier. And it's supposed to be an urban western, inspired by Dirty Harry. And yet we have amazing insights into the drug war, CIA, Vietnam, and all that. And let me see my notes here if I had any more notes. The narco plot, that's pretty, and when you understand the collusion of the secret shadow government, deep state, with the media, and when you understand how the wars are fought for corporate interests, banking interests, and how the drug and black market stuff fits into all of this, when you grasp all that and the religious element, then you understand the entire system. Really, like literally, that's the whole thing. You understand the entire New World Order. That's the master's PhD level understanding of it all. When you understand the relationship of the Roman Catholic Church to all this, of the Cold War dialectics, of the dynamics of mass media, Hollywood, the dynamics of the foreign theaters of war and operations, the transhumanist tech stuff. That's really the whole thing. That's all of it. That's the entire thing. That's all and everything about the New World Order. That's the whole thing. It's that simple. Thank you for these super chats. Keep them coming. Hope you guys are learning stuff. You could learn everything, almost everything about the world from the movies. You could learn almost everything from Lethal Weapon. Excuse me. Lethal Weapon teaches you how the world really works. By the way, there's a special cameo bad guy, Gary Busey. Gary Toothy versus Mel Gibson in this, by the way. It's a little added bonus. And he tries to bite off Mel's head, but it doesn't work. That is a pretty epic fight scene, though, between Gary Busey and Mel Gibson out in the yard at Danny Glover's house. That's a pretty good scene, actually. At that fight scene, there's like three fight scenes in the buddy cop movies that rival the other infamous fight scene in another funny movie. So the They Live fight scene stands out. That's not buddy cop, but you know what I mean. That's that fight scene is hilarious, and it goes on for like 5 minutes. And it's the exact same with the fight scene in 48 Hours. I forgot to mention that. It has a 48 Hours level. It has a They Live level fight scene between Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. And the epic fight scene between Mel Gibson and Gary Busey. Did I say Nick Nolte? See, I got him mixed up again. You know what I mean. A much younger, normal-looking Gary Busey in Lethal Weapon. So I think that's everything. Is that everything on Lethal Weapon? I think that's all my notes. There's more in my book, by the way. I think I put more on Lethal Weapon and Esoteric Hollywood 2. And now we come to... Have we done... It would be funny if there's only 4. What are we on the 4th one now? The top 5 buddy cop films, and there's only 4 of them. That would be classic. That's what I've been doing in my joke videos, by the way. It's where it says like 13 principles for men, and then there's like 4 or 10 principles to become a billionaire, and there's like 5. Well, I did have in my notes Lethal Weapon 2, but Lethal Weapon 2 is not that good. But it is a buddy cop movie. So maybe we'll just leave it at 4. Because next up in the list is Tango and Cash. And I had not seen Tango and Cash. I don't know why. I watched, all of the 80s action movies like everybody else. I don't know how I missed Tango and Cash somehow. I had also missed Tequila Sunrise, which I didn't really miss much there because it's not very good. But what was interesting about Tequila Sunrise is that it's in the subgenre category of the buddy cop, which is the mystical connection between the good cop and the bad guy or the frenemy. Right? So there's a few films in this genre. We could think of Tequila Sunrise. We could think of Point Break, right? Keanu and Bodhi have their mystical connection. And Bodhi almost wins Keanu over. Or does he at the end? Right? We see the big kahuna wave or whatever that giant wave is, and then Keanu kind of lets him go. And we think, oh, he's dead. But did he? Did Patrick Swayze meld and become one with the ocean? I mean, Point Break is a ridiculous movie. But it does also have that... I've not found any evidence that the FBI had any connection to that. It was Kathleen Kennedy, and she's done CIA movies. So I would not be surprised if there wasn't FBI funding for Point Break because of the fact that, it has this preposterous narrative of surf Nazis and surf Buddhist surfer terrorists that the FBI is going to save us from. So the FBI is going to infiltrate the surfer terrorist networks. I'm not joking. To save us from the 11,000 bank robberies a year in LA. Anyway, we're going to have to do a whole stream on Point Break itself. I did an analysis of Point Break, by the way, which will be in Esoteric Hollywood 2, somewhat tongue-in-cheek. So that'll be fun, but let's see. Tango and Cash has all of the same archetypal elements of the rest of the buddy cop films. You've got, but it's almost... Oh, and by the way, the peak example of the good cop frenemy mystical connection is Face Off, of course, which, the Nick Cage films, they deserve their own streams on their own. We'll have to eventually just get to those one day. But yeah, Face Off definitely deserves. And by the way, there's a little bit of esoteric symbolism in Face Off. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. It's kind of funny. But there's not a lot I could say about Tango and Cash, except for the fact that I think the FBI, interestingly, sets up the two cops, the two goofballs here. And Ray Tango, who's the Sly Stallone character, is completely unbelievable. I mean, this is kind of why he's so unbelievable. He's like a millionaire stock trader who just wants to be a cop because of the excitement. It's utterly preposterous. Who in their right mind would be a cop if you're wealthy for the excitement? I mean, then again, maybe that would happen. And then, Jack Burton is always Jack Burton, right? Kurt Russell's always playing Kurt Russell, which is fine because Kurt Russell is pretty entertaining as Kurt Russell. And of course, yes, free of charge, you are going to get the quote from Big Trouble in Little China. I'm really tired, so my mind is like fading out. Dark and stormy night. Let's see. What's the full quote here? Now, last time I got great accolades for this. And let's see if we can. When some wild-eyed 8-foot-tall maniac grabs you by your neck, by the back of your favorite head up against a bathroom wall, he looks you crooked in the eye and asks you, have you paid your dues? You just stare that big sucker right back in the eyes. And you remember what old Jack Burton always says at a time like that. Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yeah, check's in the mail. What do you think? How was it? What do you think? Yeah? What do you think, guys? How was the Jack Burton? Does it need to be deeper? Check's in the mail. Oh, come on, Wang. Got an A+. Yeah, I love Big Trouble in Little China. Man, I watched that movie so many times as a kid. Probably countless. Oh, come on, Wang. Yeah, Tango and Cash, I mean, again, this is a new one to me. It was like, whoa, dude. It is crazy. It's so over the top. It's almost Con Air level over the top. That's the crazy part about, because I actually believe that Con Air is satire. I think it's intentionally. I don't think it's a serious movie at all. It's a complete joke. It's supposed to satirize the but Tango and Cash, the action genre. I mean, when yeah, I mean, they're caricatures of two different types of people, and they don't make any sense at all, which is partly why it's enjoyable. It's almost like Kurt Russell's kind of like a cooler version of Mitchell in this. If you're familiar with Mitchell, which is, I had a Mitchell picture pulled up, which is one of the best Mystery Science Theater episodes. The loner cop, right? Lonely loner cop. Well, damn it, I had Mitchell pulled up. Where'd he go? And I don't know. Sylvester Stallone's character makes absolutely no sense, but it's just a typical foil the bad guys type plot. But I did appreciate the fact that the FBI, they set up the cops, they framed them, and the villain is Jack Palance, who looks like the architect from The Matrix. By the way, it's like Jack Palance is the architect from The Matrix. This guy has no voice at all. He's just a breath. Like he's like a hollow, inflatable character that's just breath. Jack Palance never talks with a voice. He just breathes. He just breathes. He's like the little finger from Game of Thrones. The little finger. The little finger doesn't have a voice. He just talks like this. This strange little finger. If you've heard the little finger. And the best part about this is that he's an inexplicable maniac bad guy who has an obsession with mice. Never explained. It's just thrown in there. And his desk, you see here, in his Blofeld lair with his Matrix architect screen, his desk is a giant rat maze. And I'm like, what? I don't know what's going on here, but it's awesome. And I mean, the movie is enjoyable just because it's over the top, just because it's completely ridiculous. And for that alone, it is enjoyable. It also has this SWAT theme that I mentioned earlier. And if I had not paid attention to Dave McGowan, I wouldn't have noticed this. But the police department, and it makes absolutely no sense, by the way, why the Kurt Russell character, Cash, has a retarded, he actually is retarded. He's like a retarded version of Q from James Bond, who creates the gadgets for Tango and Cash. It's almost like maybe they thought Tango and Cash would be, a running series like Lethal Weapon, or maybe a TV series. And Kurt Russell even makes a joke in the narrative at one point, like, oh, maybe we'll be a TV show eventually. Oh, it's like we're getting our own TV series. But you'll see this SWAT van that's fitted with a giant like Gatling gun, and it has Skype and everything inside of it, right? It reminded me of Mega Weapon, if you've seen Mystery Science Theater, which I got to be able to pull up. Now, I had all this pulled up here to put it on the damn screen, and now I can't find Mega Weapon or maybe it's in the downloads. Let's see here. Where's Mega Weapon? Mega Weapon. Mega Weapon. Mega Weapon. There it is. Yeah, and where's Mitchell? Oh, yeah, there's Mitchell. Okay. Yeah, so if you've seen Warrior of the Lost World, which is also a classic Mystery Science Theater, you'll be familiar with Mega Weapon. The van from hell, they call it, the RV from hell, is just like, it's like the offspring of Mega Weapon from Mystery Science Theater. And Mitchell, Kurt Russell is like Mitchell, the single slob cop star of Mitchell, Joe Don Baker. Anyway, so I'm not really, I can't pull out anything else other than absurdity for Tango and Cash. I mean, oh yeah, the retarded Q character craftsman crafts Jack Burton a boot gun. His boot is a gun. And he crafts a dog, a fake dog, who is a machine gun. And he says it's for old people, for security, which is pretty funny, actually, except that they turned it into a dumb gag where the head of the dog blows up. It was really dumb, but there were some good one-liners, and I say good in quotes because they're pretty bad. I'm going to read a couple of the classic one-liners here. One of the best, and I think that I'm going to have to give the award for best buddy cop one-liners to Tango and Cash because they're so bad. For example, this is where we are introduced for the first time to Fubar. Fubar is placed into the mainstream through Kurt Russell, who keeps saying Fubar, and finally Sly Stallone says, what is Fubar? And Jack Burton says, fucked up beyond all relief. Or, no, wait, fucked up beyond all recognition. I don't even know what Fubar is. I'm tired, so I fucked it up. But the next great one-liner is the Cash says, I don't want to be killed by an immigrant. I want to be killed by an American citizen. All right, that's a good one-liner. Okay, we'll give you that one. And Sly says, I think you need more iron in your diet. Get it? Because you're going to get shot. And the other one-liner, hey, where'd you learn to drive? Reply, Stevie Wonder. I mean, damn, dude. Actually, I can tell you what the worst one-liners are. Any Arnold movie. Arnold has the absolute worst one-liners. I mean, they are just pure shit. I mean, they're completely stupid. I've never heard him say a single funny one. I mean, at least at times, you know, Kurt Russell has a funny one-liner. Like, he's funny in Big Trouble in Little China, right? Jack Burton has some good one-liners. But Cash, neither Tango nor Cash have any funny good liners. I mean, I want to be killed by an American citizen, not an immigrant. That one's okay. That's all right. I'll give you a B on that one. But where'd you learn to drive, Stevie Wonder? No. We're on fire. We're really cooking now. Because they were literally on fire. I mean, no, come on. And so I'm going to say that what we get here is the promotion of the Warrior Cop. To tie this back into relevance. Oh, and there is, of course, the bizarre shower scene, which I'm going to leave out because it's weird when they get taken to prison, when they're framed. And by the way, the prison is hilarious because it's so over the top with like giant riots and burning rolls of toilet paper and confetti as if this is a normal day in the prison. The guards, the guards aren't even fazed by all this madness going on. So yes, Tango and Cash gets 3 burning rolls of toilet paper, 1 Kurt Russell in drag autographed picture, and a Cheeto. That's it. So can I recommend it? If you want a movie worse than Con Air and worse in a fun way, then yes, it's fun to watch. If you don't want that, if you can't handle that, then no. So who wins Best Buddy Cop movie in the Jay's analysis? I'm going to say it's a tie between Beverly Hills Cop and Lethal Weapon. And that is my final irrevocable judgment. And I don't care about running scared. It wasn't enjoyable. And, thank you, Old Lemming. You reminded me. How could I forget the ever-running gag through the entire 4 Lethal Weapons? I guess there have been 4. Of Danny Glover's, I'm too old for this shit. I mean, Danny Glover says that line like Eddie Murphy does his laugh. It's like every crazy scene has, I'm too old for this shit. So, do you guys agree? I'm going to read the super chats now. Do you guys agree that best buddy cop movie of the 80s is a tie between Beverly Hills Cop 1 and Lethal Weapon 1? What do you guys think? And I'll move over to the super chats. Throw in some super chats now at the end here if you want. A Boy and His Dog was pretty badass. It is pretty good. I had not seen that until about 4 years ago, and I finally just decided it was time to watch it. And yeah, I love those 80s B movies that just kind of go crazy like that. You know, Buckaroo Banzai, Boy and His Dog. You know, there's quite a few. And eventually, yeah, we'll probably do some streams like that. I think what I'm going to do, I may start doing more of these themed streams like this where I just combine, you know, top 3, 4, 5 or something. And we'll see if that gets us help from the mystical algorithm gods. Skid Racket, $2. Sigh, here's $2. Excited for Esoteric Hollywood 2 book. Thank you. If it was so painful to give $2, then keep your $2, bro. You don't have to give it. Allie Strandy, $1.99. Love your work, Jay. Learned so much from you. Thank you, Allie. Hope you keep learning from me, and I will keep working for you. Axel Foley himself. Eddie Murphy. Got your back, Jay. I still need the Stoicism link. I fixed the links. All of the links in the archive should be fixed. I spent the entire day yesterday fixing archive links, and they're almost all fixed except for the bottom portion of philosophy and theology. So the Stoicism, I might still have to get. Maybe I didn't get to that one yet, but they're almost all fixed. And Skid Rack at $2. How much coffee do you drink in a day? Maybe half a pot. Half a pot to a pot. I used to drink more than that, but I've calmed down a bit. I went to coffee rehab. And so what do you guys think? Do you think... I'm not seeing any more chats. Yeah, funniest line was... Yes, that is a pretty funny line from 48 Hours Tech-Centric. I'm too scared to say that because the algorithms will destroy me. But I feel sorry for Sylvester Stallone. And Sylvester Stallone's not a good comedy actor at all. I mean, remember what's that one, Oscar? Good grief, dude. That movie is not funny at all. That was one of his comic outings. I remember when I was in high school, like 9th grade, I went and saw Cliffhanger. I think that was the last Sylvester Stallone movie. I was like, oh, that was cool. But we're on fire. We're really cooking now. Damn, dude. That's pathetic. That's Arnold level one. That's maybe Arnold was writing Sly's one-liners for him. You just see them sitting around brainstorming. It's just, that's the whole brainstorm is back and forth. Is just anyway. Do you guys agree that about my selection? I'll take Beverly Hills Cop over Lethal Weapon. It is funnier. Axel Foley has more funny bits, but Lethal Weapon is both a good movie and has a couple funny parts. Bruce Willis and the guy from Family Matters, Die Hard could be a buddy cop. All right. Well, I guess we're coming down to the end here. Nobody's really chatting and explaining whether Beverly Hills Cop, Lethal Weapon. What do you guys think? Put in the chat your favorite, whether BHC or LW, Lethal Weapon, Beverly Hills Cop. We're gonna see what you guys think. Who wins best 80s buddy cop? And you guys don't have to pick one of those if you disagree with me. If you think I think it's a tie, but if you think there's a better one, give me your 80s buddy cop. All right, we got Lethal Weapons. We got 2 Lethal Weapons. A few Beverly Hills. So far, it's tied. Lethal Weapon. Woo, it's a dead heat. It's a dead heat. Tango and Cash beats them. This is a close one. I don't know. You guys are making it close. Oh, looks like Lethal. No, Red Heat. Nah. Ooh, this was too close, dude. I don't know. I don't know if I can gauge this. See, this is why I gave it a tie. You guys are proving my point. Am I ever wrong on movies? Yeah, Die Hard could be in there. I thought about Die Hard, but it doesn't really count as buddy cop. I mean, the Family Matters dad. Nah. I mean, when we think of Die Hard, we don't think buddy cop. We think of 80s action movie. And yes, there's some crossover between the buddy cop and the action genre, but I don't think buddy cop when I think Die Hard, I just think Bruce Willis. When I think Family Matters dad, I think of Urkel. So his the associations in my mind don't prove it. Yeah, these are too close to call. You guys have proved my point. So, all right, thanks guys. It was a fun stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And do you like this format? Do you like because I did this before with like Red Sparrow and Hackers. I did a couple streams where it was like we looked at 3 or 4 movies. Do you guys like that format, or do you like the format of like a video that's on just a movie for 15 or 20 minutes? Do you like this format better, or do you like the way I did Mandy? Because Mandy did okay. We've had 5,000 views in a couple days. That's okay. That's pretty good for my channel. Do you like this better though? Yeah. Beverly Hills Cop's definitely a funnier movie. So it's more comedic for sure. But anyway, you guys can leave that your opinions on this down below. Both or either. Yeah. Well, we'll see which ones do better in terms of the algorithm gods. God bless you guys.